For those of you who don't know much about Code for America, we started in 2011 with the idea of a sort of a Peace Corps for Geeks, a public service fellowship for developers and designers to get them to dedicate a year of their lives to working on civic challenges in partnership with city governments. So our sort of higher mission is that we seek to reinvent government using the power of modern web technology. We envision a world in which citizens actively participate in shaping their government, and governments serve as a platform for people to work together. Our tech fellowship is in its third year, this year in 2013, and we also have 3 other programs. We've got a peer network sharing learnings between cities. We have a civic startup accelerator, and then we also have a volunteer brigade of civic hackers all over the country who are coding for their cities in their free time. From the beginning, Code for America has really tried to operate in a lean way. The teams of technologists that we send into city halls actually explicitly use the lean startup model to build their tech products. But Code for America as a nonprofit, as an organization, has also sort of embraced the lean ethos. The first year of our fellowship was an MVP. We very quickly assembled a set of city partners, recruited fellows, and we actually sent the fellows into City Hall with less than a month of training under their belts. And our other 3 programs have launched the same way, sort of with this mindset of get out of the building, build something quickly, and measure feedback to see how it's working so you can change it. Leanne asked us to tell a specific story of a way that has worked for us. So I wanted to explain one metric that we use to measure our impact and how it's evolved over the course of 3 years. The fellows go in and they're building apps to help citizens and government connect. So helping parents select schools, helping people get licensing for new businesses. And at the beginning, we were measuring the impact of those apps at the application level. So user numbers, number of interactions, and we quickly came to realize that was sort of a vanity metric that wasn't really measuring if we were making a deep impact in the space, if we were making structural changes in the way government thinks about tech. And so the second year, we started to measure what we call redeployment. So all the apps are open source. We hope other cities will use the apps that are built in the first place for a particular city. And so we were measuring, how many times an app was being stood up again in other cities. Are other cities using this tool that our fellows built to register your business online, for example? Again, realized that wasn't quite the right metric because it was incentivizing these sort of token redeployments where you didn't really have buy-in from the city or the community. And so we've oriented again, and now we've taken it a step further, and we are only measuring and reporting on what we call sustainable redeployments. So the fellows build an app and it gets redeployed, but how many of those redeployments are actually still standing a few months or a year later? How many actually have sustainable sources of data from the city? How many are still building users a year later? And when we publicly report how successful our fellows are, we want to give that real number of how many of those apps are still working several years on. So we're working on that. It requires that we admit that we sometimes fail and fail fast. So we've got 8 to 9 teams of fellows building 3 to 5 apps each. Very few of those are going to make it all the way to the stage of sustainable redeployment. So we want to quickly admit that these ones aren't working, they're not catching on, and be okay with kind of cutting them loose and focusing on the ones that are. Sometimes it takes a little while to convince government that is a worthy strategy. IT contracts for government don't usually factor in experimentation and risk and failure. But we've been able to do it particularly because we have the support of our funders. So we work very closely with the Omidyar network. I think there might be some folks from Omidyar here. If so, thank you for your support. They've worked very closely with us to develop that metric and the 5 or 6 others that we use to measure our impact. So we're accepting applications for our Civic Startup Accelerator and our fellowship. You can check out our website, codeforamerica.org, or come talk to me.